When was this checkpoint happening? What time and what exactly happened during it?
Well, actually, we've started our Memorial Day safety checkpoint on yesterday. The checkpoint actually started up around 6 o'clock in terms of its preparation. We set up the checkpoint at Bear Fork Road and in the Anton Owen Street general area of Bear Fork. Of course, safety checkpoints will actually make contact with the drivers to make sure they have their seat belted in, having their driver's license, insurance, and registration, and those kind of things, and make sure that everything is current. And at the same time, if they're not correctly seated in, telling them how to do that and providing other services as it relates to public safety. But during this event, unfortunately, we had an individual that was spotted by an officer who pulled out of the line, went into a church parking lot. Officers spotted him. They were walking over to make contact to find out why he had a need to pull into the church parking lot. And when doing so, this subject, this black male, took an object and threw it over the fence. And at that point, ran into the church.
Can we pause for a little bit? Sorry, my battery just went from 80 to 0 in a matter of seconds, so I'll be right back.
I guess we'll start this all over from the beginning.
Yeah, well, why don't we just pick up from, you guys are having a checkpoint. Yeah.
And I'll just start at the same point.
Yeah. I'm good.
Got crowded fast. I need to be selling.
Press conference.
Yeah, he needs to sell something. One slap the white balance. All right, thank you. I'm good, I got it.
Oh, that's okay. You get used to it.
Sorry, guys.
So you guys are doing a checkpoint and someone gets out of line. Talk to us about what happens there.
Well, actually, during the operation, someone got out of the line of the checkpoint. Officers responded to that individual to check to see why he got out. That vehicle was occupied by two individuals, in fact. As officers approached him, he got out of the vehicle, he tossed an object over the fence, and he ran into the church that was located up in the parking lot in which he drove into. Officers pursued him inside the church, attempted to make an arrest then. He were able to get away, and he ran into the woods close near the church. Officers pursued him into the woods. While they were pursuing, he hit a fence, knocked the fence down, went into the wooded area, very thicket area. Officer was able to go in and actually get the subject out of the woods. Brought him back to the church, set him down briefly. Escort vehicle came to prepare him to go to Metro. While doing so, they were able to recover the object that was thrown over the fence. Was a bottle of crack cocaine, and we were able to retrieve out of the vehicle lower tabs that was in the door of the vehicle as well. We retrieved a magazine with 10 rounds of ammo in it as well from the vehicle, but a handgun was not found, only the clip. Officers moving the subject from the church location where the safety checkpoint was taking place, came here to 216. As they was getting ready to remove the subject from the car, he slumped over. EMS was called. They responded to the area. I think they worked on him for 10, 15, 20 minutes or so. He was later transported to USA Medical Center. And this was about 8:30, I think, then. About 12:30, they pronounced him dead.
Was he, you said he was slumped over. Can you kind of describe his state? Was he breathing? Was he conscious while he was still here?
Best that I know, when they opened the door and they were taking him out of the car, because the last conversation they had with him was actually at Bathfall and Anton. They at the church area. When they got here, they reached in to get him, and when they were taking him out of the car, he slumped at the door of the car, and he made no sound at that point.
Okay, so during the ride over, he was alert?
Yes.
Okay. You also mentioned that there were two people in the car.
There was another person in the car that walked away from the vehicle. The pursuit went to him. The other person was able to actually get away from the vehicle.
Okay. Who is this person, this suspect, who's now dead?
Not giving that person name at this time, waiting to ensure that the family all has been notified as it relates to his death.
Okay, so the family has not been notified yet?
Yes, there are family members that have been notified, but the family members that are important at this point, I don't think she have, and so we're not announcing his name.
You mentioned that he fell throughout the pursuit. Did you guys notice any injury there? Was he bleeding or anything like that?
No, not at all.
Do you guys think he may have ingested something? What do you attribute this death to?
The pastor of the church said that when he ran into the church, he had a white object in one hand. We never found whatever that white stuff that he had, a white object had in his hand. We never found that substance or whatever it may have been when we got him away from the church. Actually, we were able to retrieve him from the wooded area. We never found anything in terms of what the pastor thought that he had in his hand. So there's no way to know what that may have been and whether it was something that he could place into his mouth.
Once officers caught up with him, was there a struggle or was he tased? Anything that?
No, none of that. Actually, the gentleman weighed about 250 pounds. He hit that fence pretty hard, I understand. Went into the woods. It's a very thicket woods. Slowed him down. Got the kind of vines that would slow you down. He finally fell to the ground. They were able to retrieve him from the woods and bring him back in front of the church, as I said earlier.
Had some friends call us and say that he may have died from internal bleeding, and they had suspicions that he may have been beaten.
I beg your pardon?
They had suspicions that he may have been beaten. They said his injuries were consistent with internal bleeding. What type of contact did the officers actually have with this man when they grabbed him?
I don't know where you got your information from, but...
A friend of the family called the station.
Okay. Well, a friend of the family wasn't there. So a friend of the family wouldn't have known any of that. So I'm not going to engage into conversation about someone who wasn't even there to begin with.
Well, they just have concerns, obviously.
Well, they may have concerns, but my point is, though, we don't take information from an unreliable source and make it a part of the information. I think that's simple. But the fact of the matter is, no, the subject actually went down. We were able to retrieve him from the woods and bring him out, and he was transported. And a short time later, as I said, when he was transported from Wolf Ridge to to here, he slumped at the door of the car as they were taking him out. EMS was called. They worked on him, and he was transported to the hospital. And approximately 4 hours later, they said he had died.
Did he make any statements while he was in the car? Was it a silent ride? Did the officer driving notice anything funny with him? Was he, going in and out, or?
None of that. In fact, there was no mention of any thing unusual when one would be sitting in the backseat of a car and route to jail, unless that person was violent, and this person was not violent in that sense.
Now, is this somebody that you guys are familiar with? Does he have a criminal history with you guys? Is he a drug dealer? Talk to us about who this person is.
Well, actually, yes, he has a criminal history of drugs, drug possession, and the sales of drugs. And it's probably extensive.
Extensive. Okay, at what point do you think that you'll release his name or contact his family?
At some point today, I'm certain. I just want to make sure that the mother has been properly notified to that fact, and I want to be certain of that before that happens.
Was the passenger in the car, this was the driver that actually
Yes,
ended up
this
dying,
is the
right?
driver, yes.
The passenger, you guys caught him or no?
No.
Right,
He was able to get away because the pursuit was after the individual threw the object over the fence and pursued into a church that was occupied at the time. So that's what the focus point of the officer moving toward that individual.
Now, in this situation, since, and I know you're saying that the officers didn't, beat him or anything like that, but since he did die in an officer's custody, do you guys put this officer on any kind of leave as the investigation continues, any kind of internal investigation or
No.
anything?
We'll do our own internal investigation along with, I've asked ABI, Alabama Bureau of Investigation, will do an independent investigation aside from what we do.
To make sure the officers and everybody acted appropriately?
Absolutely.
Okay. How many officers were out there responding?
We had probably about 15 or so officers that was actually out on the operation.
But there was only one officer that actually arrested him and put him in his vehicle?
There were several officers that pursued him at that time, as I said, and he managed to get out of the church and run into the wooded area. I think 2 officers pursued him into that wooded area and was able to apprehend him and bring him out.
Why did nobody pursue the other suspect that was in the car?
Because the focus was the person who actually threw the object and went into a church that was occupied at the time. And that's what the focus of attention, and that's where everybody moved to, that immediate threat to the people who were there at the church.
And you may have said this, but what was that object he threw over the fence? Did you?
I beg your pardon?
What was the object he threw over the fence?
It was drugs.
It was drugs, okay. Crack cocaine, that's
Yes.
what you're talking about, okay.
Any other question?